Hello everyone, in today's video I have really special guest Sir Jon, and Sir Jon has vast experience of teaching English to non-English speakers, and today in this video he is going to give you some practical advice and tips how to improve your English on daily basis. While in your everyday routine, you can take few minutes and to focus on learning and improving your English. So without further ado, Sir Jon.
Hello, my name is John. I'm an English person and I'm hoping to give you active and helpful ideas and instruction about speaking English in an improved way, and I'm hoping to help you. I have 5 subjects within this, and I will list them now. The first is reading, the second is writing, the third is listening, the fourth is discussion, conversation, and the fifth is what I have called media. So there's 5 topics, and I'll begin straight away with the subject of reading. Reading is something I enjoy. Reading is, on the other hand, not something that everyone enjoys. You might be an active reader in your own language. You'll probably be able to read, but you might not read for enjoyment. I would suggest that reading is a very helpful way if you're wishing to improve your English. There's a slight humorous note here that I, in fact, first began reading comics, which might surprise people. And some people disapprove, but I found as a boy of about 5 through to 7 that reading comics was actually very helpful, because you have to understand the words in order to understand the little pictures and the captions of these. But that's up to the individual. But please do not be fearful of finding a comic or something like that, if you so please, in English. Now, reading, there are many good English authors. Choose one which is appropriate and that you think will help you, but always read actively. That is, if there is a word that you do not understand, do not know the meaning of, please do not guess, but write it down, make a note somewhere, or ask someone and get the word explained. This will greatly enhance your reading. And will subsequently, that's an interesting word, subsequently means as a result of, as a result, your communication in English will improve, I'm sure. It might be interesting to know that one of my favourite books as a young man was James Bond. I would highly recommend those, but there are many others because they're exciting and interesting to read. So I think at that point I could probably move on to my next topic, which would be the topic of writing. Again, people do not necessarily, even in their own language, choose to write much, or maybe do not like writing. But this helps the flow of your English speaking and your understanding of English. And also it builds up communication with other people. People like to receive letters. But specifically here today, I'm not talking so much about letters, because sadly this is probably a skill which is lost or being lost gradually in this computerized day and age. But we have email. Now, emails are actually a very good way of practicing and improving your skill with English. There is a word check available on it. What I like to do very much is to write a letter which I can then save as a document and put that in the email. That is to some friends that I have abroad from several countries. Another slightly humorous point here is that there is something called Google Translate. Now, this is not to recommend using Google Translate to write your complete email for you in English, whatever your other language, your first language may be, but it is quite helpful. You can check, you can get assistance, you can read and understand more through this, but please do not rely on it, because you could probably, for instance, if you only speak Spanish, you could compose a complete letter in English via Google Translate. So I'm using it as an example of something to assist you, and it is quite helpful, I find. Now, the third topic I wish to speak about is possibly even my favourite, over and beyond the joys of reading and the joys of writing to people. But this is talking, discussion, speaking, engaging with others in conversation. Again, some people are better able and more willing to speak to other people in whatever the language is that is their first language. But to begin by communicating with other people in English as best you can, and this is something I would be very clear about, do not be fearful of making mistakes. It is better to carry on, risk making mistakes, because you will find that your confidence will grow and you will be able to learn more about the culture you are in, which is, in this case, it is England, by talking to other people. Now, you will need to speak to other people if you must have directions somewhere, or all this kind of thing, where it's often necessary to engage with another person who is English when you are from whatever country. Now, if that person who you are asking the way, let us say, to the railway station, if they speak too quickly for you and you do not understand, it's very simple and easy to say, look, English isn't my first language, or I am from another country. Would you be kind enough to speak a bit more slowly for me, please? And most people will be happy enough to oblige and to speak a little bit more slowly and clearly. At this point, I will mention the subject of accents, that this can be disconcerting. There's another long English word based on Latin probably, but if something is disconcerting, it puts you off your guard, it makes you uneasy, it makes you feel not confident if something is disconcerting. It can be disconcerting if someone speaks to you in English in an accent which makes it very difficult to understand. At this point, there is guidance on YouTube with many good little documentary instruction on different languages that there are in the UK. But of course there are accents in every country. So you do get used to them if you are in the vicinity, if you are in the area of someone regularly on a day-to-day basis who has a different and difficult accent, you get used to it. But it needs to be thought about, and you can get advice and help with that. So that's my dealing with the talking and the instruction. Now the other one I think was listening. Now with listening, again, you have to listen in order to understand English, and you can get instruction or help, shall we say, there are many good programmes on the radio, on BBC Radio 4, for instance, which would be interesting to listen to, I find interesting, that can be helping you all the time, or just the radio generally, or TV generally. It could be the news, it could be a film. If you watch too many American films, beware of getting an American accent, but don't worry. But there are films from all over the world, and you can also see these with subtitles. So you are seeing the words you are hearing in the film, you are seeing those on the screen, and these are quite helpful to watch, and also very enjoyable and funny, depending on what your taste is in films. So there is a lot that can be achieved through listening and understanding. find a mentor. If there is a person who can advise you, not just tell you your English is good, but tell you new words that can tell you, no, you didn't pronounce that quite correctly, that would tell you your grammar in that sentence isn't quite correct, to get the word order, which someone might understand, although it's the wrong word order, but they will know what you mean, an English person. But it's a good idea to get the sentence construction correct. Another little thing to be aware of is, in English, as in every language, there are two words which sound very similar, but they're not the same word, and misunderstandings can result in something which could be just comical, which is okay, or it could be embarrassing. But when I speak of these words, I'm speaking, pay attention to the enunciation of the letters in the word to pronounce the word correctly, and be aware of it, and know that in English there might be one word which sounds very similar but is not the same as another. The last topic, number 5, is to investigate different ways. It could be like crosswords, difficult at an early stage, but there is a website on the internet under the title of Merriam-Webster, which is a lot of word games and a lot of interesting guidance with the English language. It is an American site, therefore varies slightly at certain points, being American English from English English, but I think it's worthwhile, and I think any little difficulties don't matter. So that is most of what I would be able to tell you. I think I need to finish fairly soon in the time scale, but I hope that I have helped in some way, that I have not spoken too quickly. But if you have understood what I've been saying,